Hey, this is Guido coming at you with another tactics talk. Let's talk about SPG-15. Let's talk about personal missions a little bit. There's a lot of angst regarding the personal missions, especially the SPG missions. A lot of people want to talk about how they're impossible, especially at the higher level. What I'm going to show you here is a game that is good for SPG-15 for the Object 260 War Gods. So you need to be at the top in damage and at the top of the experience. M5355 is what I'm driving. I'm here on steeps. Yeah, I know, it's steps, got it. I'm on steeps, and we have spawned in the south, so I'm going to go over to a fairly typical arty spot over here. Positioning on arty is important. Seems like you could just sit at the cap and do more or less nothing, but it is important. Obviously, you're not going to go very far. It's not that difficult. But I'm going to head over here to the east side, and I'm looking to take shots down that alleyway, because what happens typically is the enemy will stack up some tanks along these edges, and they're very easy to hit from back where I am here at about the J0. I'm also pushing up a little forward so that my time of flight on the shots are less. So right off the bat, I'm thinking positioning. I'm thinking getting a little closer so I can have a better chance of hitting. But I also want to stay back far enough that I don't get scouted out and killed. They do have an SPIC and some other medium type tanks like the Batchet who could get in there and potentially see me. So I'm not going to get crazy up close, but right off the bat I'm looking to maximize the potential of the tank that I'm driving. So let's talk about setup real quick. I am sitting here with 8 gold rounds. Why am I using gold rounds? Because I have more of a splash on that. And that's going to be important for your arty, especially when you're trying to do these missions. I'm running cola, so that's going to add percentages to my crews. Anything that adds a percentage to the crew, especially in accuracy on arty, is extremely important because of the poor accuracy and the percentages that you're talking about. I also run a gun rammer, and I'll have a gun laying drive, and you can see that I've got a camo net in case I can find a bush, which are few and far between on this map. So I'm going to go ahead and move up in here. I am also running the battle assistant, which is the extra view for arty, and I have the G key tied to that. The problem with the replay is it doesn't show that very well. I'll show you what I'm doing here as I'm now looking. So I've already positioned as far as where I'm going to shoot right off the bat. Pre-aiming is what we call it. You can see that as I go to battle assistant, it backs way out and I can't show you the zoomed in part. I was obviously not using it that zoomed out. But I'll take that quick shot, looking for that early shot on the Leopard. Got to be careful a bit about early shots like that with arty, especially with the fast tanks such as a Leopard or the smaller ones. You can often waste a shot early on trying to take those kinds of shots, so be careful about those. He seemed like he was fairly stationary, so I went ahead and let that one fire off. Looks like I hit him. You saw me check over around B1, B2. What I'm doing there is I'm looking for the other artillery, see if I can see his tracer. Because you're trying to get top damage and experience on this, and because artillery will share experience for anything that it isn't currently spotting itself, it can be important to at times look for the counter artillery opportunities, which I've talked about in some of my other videos. So I'll look in the common places in between shots. You can see my timer on the left is about halfway, so somewhere around 10 to 15 seconds I will switch back over to where I see the tanks and start taking shots. Now you can see I've got a very juicy group of tanks over here. And that is kind of why I'm looking on this side, because they tend to stack up and often you can get multiple shots. The JT 8.8 is very slow and I'm going to hammer him. So I prioritize him because he's heavily armored, can give those guys some trouble, and he's slow. He's not going to really rock back and forth or move, especially laterally side to side, because he's a kind of straight on fighter. So that is the guy I prioritize right there. You can see that our tanks on the east side are stacking up against their stacks, and this is a fairly static fight over here, which is to my advantage because I can sit here and start picking off these guys. What you're going to see here is actually some guys stacking up together. I believe what happens here is I get a double hit. Boom. Okay. So those are the kind of opportunities that you're looking for. I actually aimed in between those guys, looking to hit both of them. You can see that the team is taking a lead right here initially. And because I'm not too worried right now, their scout is dead. I know where their Batchet is. I'm not too worried about someone coming up in the middle. I'm actually going to scoot up a little bit using my render and view range and viewed range, meaning the range they can see me there on the mini-map, to inform how far I go forward. And this is just going to make my time of flight on the shot much less. You can see I'm back over here looking at these guys. And I shoot that. Now one of the reasons I shot that, even though he had disappeared, is because if you hit dark tanks, you get all the experience. Okay? If you hit dark tanks, you get all the experience. It's one of the reasons why counter arty can give you quite a bit more experience. Now, I have switched over to the west side. It looks like pretty much the east side is taken care of, and I had noticed that the west side, their tanks were stacking up behind that hill, and I actually have shots on them over here, so that's perfect for me. Take a look at that guy, and we kill him off. Now, if I was prioritizing a little better and thinking about this mission, I may have actually gone after the 4502 and the Oni. They have more hit points. So it is a trade-off at times, whether you're trying to help your team win, push through a flank, and whether you're looking for the hit points. You'll have to play that one by ear. I tend to do a little bit of both. You can see me switching over to the 4502 Bravo because he's got more hit points, which is why I did that. And I'm waiting for the reload. I'm also considering whether I can maybe get a shot in here and hit both of them because they're right together, which I believe is what you'll see. And I end up hitting both those guys and killing the low hit point guy. So I'll aim next to them like that. Now I'm starting to look for their artillery. Their team is really starting to collapse. You may have noticed the tracer, depending on if the video you're looking at was good enough. He's up there in those bushes right to the north of my reticle. I didn't notice it actually during the game. Otherwise I would have put my reticle right on him. Now the T-25AT has been spotted, but I don't bother shifting over there because there's so many of our tanks around him. More than likely he's going to get killed by them. What I'm waiting for is somebody to light that artillery up, and I'm pretty sure he's right about here. And then I'm going to try to sneak in a shot and take that guy out. So I'm already pre-aimed. I know he's in here somewhere. Too bad I missed the tracer earlier. I would have been able to maybe take him out dark, and I know it's going to happen real soon. So you got to be quick. There he is. I'm just going to very carefully shift over, shoot. Fortunately, two guys miss, and I end up getting the kill on that guy. So it's showing 3,500, but I think it was a little bit more, around 4,600, because I hit some of those dark tanks. So those are some things you can do for SPG-15 War Gods. I'd say the M53-55 is probably one of the best tanks, SPGs in the game, to do most of the missions. It's got a great burst radius, especially with gold rounds. Reloads fairly quickly. It's got that half turret, which gives it a large field of regard, so there's not a lot of changing of the reticle size, or the dispersion size, sorry, as you shift around. And it's actually relatively quick for a large artillery. It does a pretty good job shotgunning people, which I didn't have to do during this game. But you can see a lot of the little techniques that I use just to maximize the damage and attempt to get SPG-15 done. Thing is, I've done SPG-15 probably a dozen times without exaggerating, so it's really not that difficult. The SPG missions are probably the easiest if you've got the right gear, the right tanks, and know what you're doing. Alright, I hope this helped you guys. Take it easy.